And we're live. Welcome back to the LOOPCast. Today joined by Erica and Josh. Had a great weekend. Hope you did too. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I did see we had someone from Southwest Michigan in the chat. Welcome. And I'm a little hot today. Let me just take off this check.
What? Wait, what? Oh, no. Not on the pod. What do we got there?
Detroit Lions. You know, you had the chance to take this bet, buddy.
That is a Detroit Lions merch shirt. Yeah. Why does it say Detroit? Where's the D?
Oh, it's on my shoulder.
Oh, okay. It's super cool then.
Super cool, super hip. But yeah, it must be tough. I mean, just being 5-0 and having all the excitement, being at a home field and getting all your hopes and dreams up just to get smashed by the Lions must be tough. It's kind of awesome to be a cocky Lions fan for the first time, maybe ever in the history of the Lions. So,
how confident were you when you wouldn't even take a bet with me?
What are you talking about,
dude?
Josh, I'm not shaving my head, dude.
You win. I would have shaved my beard. I would have had a naked chin for all
naked chin.
To see.
Yeah, but I did a gift for everyone. No one would want to see that.
I mean, it would have been funny to laugh at me.
True, but we don't do that on this program. Actually, we have nothing but love and respect for Josh. But yes, shout out to the Lions for being the best in the division and being awesome. And sorry.
So you know what I did this weekend?
What'd you do?
Well, my wife's family does the marrying conference, and we had hundreds of people from all over the state of Michigan, and even people from as far away as Florida and San Francisco came to our event. And I gave a speech talking about the importance of Catholics and voting, and I decided to do a Q&A style, which we need to do more Q&As for the LOOPCast, by the way, a little more.
I got a question today. Don't worry.
But as I'm giving it, this lady, she stands up. Her name was Virginia, and she was from Bolivia, and she was talking about all the communism that was in her country, how she fled when she was only 12 years old, and so glad to live in the United States of America. She's like, I see it happening here if we don't turn it around. I'm like,
it's
true. That right, girl. She was amazing.
Everyone I talk to, everyone I interview from a former communist country says the same thing. They say, I have deja vu right now.
That's right.
And I'm like, maybe we should listen to them. Maybe we should believe them when they say that. That would be good. Hey, you know what I did this weekend?
What'd you do?
Well, I didn't do it. The baby did it. The baby popped his first tooth. And all you mothers in the chat know what that means for our sleep schedule. It's a little rough weekend here. But I'm happy for you, Pogo. I'm glad your Lions won. Someone in the chat actually recognized the shirt you are wearing. He said vintage 1991.
1991, yeah.
That's amazing that you know that.
This is kind of fake vintage. I got to get out in front of that.
Was that the last year you guys were in the playoffs?
No.
It was before I was alive. Yeah. I was a young cat. But hey, there was a lot of fun things that happened over the weekend, and that's what we're here to address today. So first, I'd like to welcome everyone in the chat. As always, we're here live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you'd like to join, please do. It's a good time. Leave us a like in this episode. Helps out a lot. And subscribe. But we have Trump at McDonald's.
So perfect.
What? Nothing. Does it get any more American? I mean, I got a few pictures I'd like to go through with everyone, and no, they're not AI generated. And it's almost unbelievable that they aren't AI generated because they almost look fake. But
they're so iconic.
From Donald Trump's account himself. Look at this.
Leaning out the window.
And the red tie actually is McDonald's red. It looked, everything was perfect.
And the apron there. I mean, he's just, someone said it looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. It does. It looks like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Hang it.
Americana.com.
Hang
this
it.
Is great.
Let's see. We got that one. I just cannot get enough of these. We have in his first 15 minutes during his shift at McDonald's, Trump accomplished the following: 1, fixed the ice cream machine, gave 7 McNuggets instead of 6, 1 employee of the year, paid for all the orders that he took, made McDonald's trending on all social media, made McDonald's stock go up early in the trade the following day. Absolutely incredible. There he is.
It's a metaphor for America in Trump's second term. That's what that is to me. I'm like, let it be.
Dude, this one's great too. Look at this.
Oh, man.
This looks AI generated. This looks, I would put in a prompt, Donald Trump handing fries to customer in McDonald's in ChatGPT, and this would spit back. No, this is real. And then I have this one of him actually doing the fries.
Oh, man.
I mean.
Okay.
I love it.
Oh, man.
Right there. Well, and you know it inspired the stunt, right?
Of course.
What inspired the stunt, Pogo?
Please, Erica, you tell me.
Well, so as we all know, Kamala Harris, sorry if I'm pronouncing her name wrong, guys.
Don't be
Kamala
sorry.
Harris claimed that she started off by working at a McDonald's, but scrutiny of her records proved that actually never
There's no
happened.
proof of it, right?
Yeah, well,
Right.
McDonald's came out with a statement saying we don't have
We have no record of her
great
employment with
records
us.
back to the 80s, but we don't have any record of employment. But we welcome all political candidates to come work at McDonald's, basically.
And Trump said, sure, why not? So now he's done something Kamala never did. He has worked at McDonald's for 15. My favorite reaction to this, though, like the left cannot just like have fun with a joke at all.
No.
Everything he does, no matter how endearing and cute it is, they have to be like, oh my gosh, he's lying. He's not really a McDonald's employee. And so it was Newsweek. Newsweek was like, what did they say? Oh my gosh.
I got it.
Yeah, you
So-
got that one?
So
David
let's
Frum was losing it too.
actually start. So the way I'd like to set this up, right? So this happens, and this is a stunt, right? This is a political prop up.
Obviously.
It's a lot of fun. It's an obvious dig at Kamala Harris's.
troll.
Both sides do this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Questionable at best, talking point that she worked at McDonald's. I haven't seen any proof. I would love to see proof of that. And the best part about this is if she wanted to get back at Trump by doing this, it's a lose-lose, because if she looks unnatural or like she can't do it, then that's just even further cements the lie that she's probably never worked there. And it shows a lighter side of Trump. And it's funny because I'm going to get into some of the reactions, but we currently have, rough estimate, 4.5 million fast food workers in the country. Many Americans consume fast food. McDonald's are at every corner in the country. Like, this isn't it's an op, but it's a significant part of the country. You think of McDonald's as kind of this soft power, quote unquote, of American colonialism in terms of diet, unfortunately, but it's real. And of course it's happening. So there were two attacks from the left, and I'd actually like to start with the initial attack, because to me it was worse than this one they all rallied around. The first attack, of course, is that, and I'll show the graphic here. You get from Palmer Report. The real proof of Donald Trump's dementia is that he let his handlers do this to him today without pushing back about what a humiliating idea this was.
Oh my gosh. Talk about
That's-
tone deaf.
Tone deaf.
The epitome of tone deaf, and
Oh my god.
kind of revealing, unfortunately, the truth of a lot of Democrats in the elite party that are supposed to be the tolerance party, that are welcoming to everyone and nice to everyone, that they kind of look down on fast food workers or people that actually appreciate fast food.
Right.
Kind of a little bit of a slip there.
They haven't learned from the basket of deplorables mistake in 2015-16, right? That was Hillary just like off the cuff says, oh yeah, all the deplorables that are going to vote for him. Not like even cluing in that she's describing more than half the country. And
It's usually
same
not
thing.
best to insult voters if you're, I don't know, trying to get voters to vote for you.
Especially in a close election, guys.
Yeah. And not to mention how many people I'm seeing, some people in the chat. Oh, my first job was working at McDonald's. Or I think many Americans, normal Americans, look back on those jobs kind of fondly of, oh my gosh, that's where I got my start. That's how I came out.
1 in 9 people have worked at McDonald's or some high number like that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty high. And
There's
so
nothing humiliating about honest labor like that.
like the left, I mean, on MSNBC, they were like screeching like, vampires. Ah! And they're so upset. This is so dumb. This is so folks, so bogus, so fake. And I just know James Carville is out there somewhere just spitting tacks at how stupid Democrats are for attacking him on this. It was, I mean, anyone online yesterday, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, this thing was flooding the zone. I mean, I say this in a positive way. President Trump is so easy to just a meme, as they say on the internet. Like, to picture him shoving fries at someone and talking to me in the drive-thru. Like, how did no one else think of this before? This was like electoral gold. Like, I mean, who doesn't love McDonald's? I mean, it's like Jim Gaffigan says, everyone claims they never go to McDonald's, but it says like a 99 billion served. I mean, like, I think some of you were lying.
Yeah, so that's you're getting at what eventually the attack line coalesced around, because not super popular idea for Democrats to just make fun of everyone who's had McDonald's or worked there. Rumors have been circulating on social media that former President Donald Trump's visit to the popular fast food chain was staged.
Oh my gosh, this one killed me. I'm like, wait, you mean he's not actually employed by McDonald's? That's like the
What?
stupidest headline. I think I said, in an era of stupid headlines, this one really takes the cake. It's like,
Another good one here. So the place wasn't even opened. It was all staged and fake. He didn't work for real at McDonald's. It was a staged fraud, just like every other event. Guys,
just like that restaurant in Pittsburgh where Kamala Harris's campaign kicked out everyone else that wanted to eat there except for her cronies? Like, yeah.
right.
I'm like,
I
just
mean-
just like Pete
it works,
Buttigieg
right?
riding his bike into work after getting dropped off by a Secret Service brigade. Like, do you think that, do these people still think Santa Claus is real? Do they think that people that get shot in movies don't actually die?
You know what? Honestly,
What?
can you imagine if Donald Trump, when he was making those fries, would have just turned to the camera and said, "And when I'm president, we're going to make these guys use the real beef tallow again.
Yeah,
not this vegetable oil garbage."
Some of the funniest things
He
I
wins
saw.
40 states, you know.
If they had RFK like come in halfway through the bit and
Yeah.
like start swapping out the tallow for the beef tallow, that would have been awesome.
The funniest jokes I saw about it were RFK Jr. watching Trump at McDonald's, like crying because it's like all the seed oils and it's unhealthy. But my favorite one was from Kamala's Wins. Now, if anyone needs a good laugh, go follow this account. I'm still not sure if it's a troll or not. And that's why I love it, because I don't know. I'm not sure yet. Not positive. Anyway, the line
so
here
bad at
is
what they do.
exactly right. It's like, yeah. So anyway, the line is breaking. The McDonald's location Trump, quote, worked at was cited earlier this year for health code violations. Disgusting. What?
Thanks, Karen.
That's when you know everything they got. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink. They got nothing.
They
They're
got
just mad they
nothing.
didn't think of it first. Well, no, and they're mad that their candidate could not pull this off. Like
Oh,
they know
man.
if they try to throw Kamala into a situation like this, she could not pull it off, and that makes them so mad. So they're just gonna like
Did you see that he went to the Steelers game too? I mean, how great
know,
is
dude.
that?
The
same
guy-
day.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like he went to the McDonald's over in Philadelphia, and then did an interview, and then went to the Steelers game at night. I mean, the guy, he's going like 17 hours a day practically. He's just not.
Sounds like he's hiding. Sounds like he's running a basement
basement.
campaign.
I love that they're saying this. Like she did 15 minutes yesterday, and he was out campaigning for like 10 hours yesterday. Like,
No,
I don't
think
know.
if I could
Line,
make a
Josh, what's the line?
It's almost like they're lying. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a chance that this will come down to the wire, of course. But man, Donald Trump has had, when it comes to a political campaign, after Labor Day, it's you got to win the day. And then you try to, win the week, and you just kind of keep winning the days and trying to win the weeks and get the momentum. He's won the last like 3-4 weeks. I mean, it's just the momentum. He is just killing it.
Yeah.
He's Mr. October, man. He knows how to close. He's doing great.
Yeah, I think, and if I could, just as we close out the McDonald's chapter of this story, it seems kind of funny. We always talk about Democrats are kind of panicking that they don't, and we're going to talk about this later, like they don't appeal to Christians. They don't really appeal to straight white men. Like they have electoral liabilities that they're pretty honest about at this point. Men in general, really. And they're trying to go through all these high paid consultants and people who clearly are not straight white men of like, how do we make them like us?
Oh gosh. Dude,
And
that's one for you.
here's the thing about this stunt at McDonald's. First off, he looked really happy doing it. Like he just seemed kind of
Natural.
laughing, like he was in on the joke kind of thing.
Genuine.
But even the fact that he's been pretty open about liking McDonald's and fast food his entire life. And someone made this point and I really agree with it. It's almost like Trump he has simple tastes. He likes things that normal people like, and he's pretty unabashed about it. Typically when people get a lot of money or status, they go to the fancy restaurants or they have to pretend like they don't like certain things anymore. Or
Not
they
Trump.
do pretend like they like it to try to get votes. But with Trump, it's like he doesn't pretend. Like he likes UFC. He likes McDonald's. He likes things that actual people like. That's why people like him.
Remember
Bingo.
when the government was shut down and then he invited in the college football national champion?
Yeah.
So he just pulls out his credit card and gets all the McDonald's Big Macs and all that stuff and fish fillets. And college kids came in, they're just like, this is awesome. They were just loving it. He went to Wendy's and it was great, dude. I mean, that's my president.
So that really spoke out to me. Next section here, we have what I'm titling Electoral Liabilities for Democrats. And one would be Christians. And I think you saw this in how both candidates have campaigned over the weekend, especially VP. I saw someone said that JD Vance was giving out beer at the Packers game, which is awesome. Again,
I'll allow it.
News Rock. Yeah. We'll allow it. Both of us will allow it.
Which is ironic given what Erica and I are wearing. We got the Green Bay Packer colors.
I know. Look at us.
I should have coordinated better.
Yeah.
But
We'll get there.
we have this moment with Kamala Harris. She was rallying in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and she really, you could just see it too. You thought she finally had kind of an organic gotcha moment where she lets loose this line, I think you're at the wrong rally. And upon digging into this a little bit deeper, I saw a lot of reports saying that there were protesters saying Jesus is Lord when she was talking about abortion. And at first I was kind of like, oh man, like, I'm not sure what is true here, but if that's even close to true, this looks horrible. Or maybe it's kind of been made up to get at her. So I found out that they found the students in Wisconsin and interviewed them. New York Post interviewed these students, and they said exactly that. We were saying Jesus is Lord. We had crucifixes on. We were showing them. There had been a few encounters before where she kind of waved us off and smirked at us, and then she lets loose this line when we say Jesus is Lord. So it's been verified by the New York Post. At least that's what the students' account of the event was. And I have the clip for those wondering. And I think it says a lot understanding this context now. But we'll play the clip just so we all on the same page.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
Not great.
No, not a good look.
What are thoughts on this this encounter here?
I mean, why couldn't she just have something? I mean, again, this is a candidate who's just not prepared for moments like this. Trump, say what you will, he's quick on his feet. And you would have thought, I mean, that played well with her secular audience, but that was sort of ignorant of the vast, chunk of, independent voters, moderate voters, Americans that aren't like communists. And so she should have had a chance to say, yeah, Jesus, thank you. Jesus is Lord, and Jesus wants you to fight for justice, and that's why that's why I'm running for president, because I believe in justice for every American. And she could have got her crowd to even cheer with her on that, even if they didn't believe in God. But she's in her heart totally secular. But what happened after that? She felt the need to go to a Baptist church over the weekend because of that.
Souls to the polls, I believe, is what it's called.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she even preached at the Baptist church, and she preached about the Gospel of Luke right there, telling us how the Gospel of Luke means we have to care for welcome the stranger.
Wait. Hold up. Is this the Christian nationalism I've been reliably told is
look at that.
evil and taking over the country and dangerous that we got to worry about?
I don't think we're going to hear about that.
Souls to the polls. Interesting. Continue.
Yeah, and I think what Josh was saying is right. Like that, having protesters at your rally, it's good to respond from the podium to show that you can have a little back and forth. But the better way to do it, and I think this is where Trump is a real master of responding to shouting from the audience, is to turn it around so it's something positive for you instead of alienating the people that the protesters represent.
Exactly.
Is to turn it around. And I think it's just part. Again, to reiterate what Josh said, it's a moment where she let down her guard and she said what she really thinks. And what you were saying before, Pogo, about, we have these liabilities, these populations that the Democrats can't seem to reach. And they seem to sit down and say, how can I reach them? How can we win them over? And we get stuff like that. The clip that she sent in for the Al Smith dinner that we talked about last week with Mary Catherine Gallagher. They're like, what do we know about Catholics and how could we appeal to them? I know. Back when I was 5, my parents watched SNL and there was a Catholic schoolgirl on it. We'll get her. And then with the straight males, they're like, we need to find some straight white males. Do we know any? No, but we can play them on TV. So let's film an ad with all our gay friends, and then we'll appeal to the white males. They have no contact with the people that they're trying to appeal to, and they have a disdain for them, so they won't get in the trenches and actually meet them.
Well, they had, so again, when Kamala did that phone-in video thing with the Mary Catherine Gallagher, Cardinal Dolan didn't even mention her in his remarks. I just kind of blew, you blow off her event and you think you can video it in. He did not even mention her name. It's pretty telling, I thought. And then, yeah, as you say, like this whole white dudes for Kamala. So usually, who's the guy on HBO that Bill Maher?
Maher, yeah.
Usually he'll bring on some other voices, but on this Friday he decided to bring in all the lefties.
I saw
Joe
that.
Scarborough, David Hogg, and I forget the other guy.
No, Mark Cuban, aka
yeah, Rachel
It was
Maddow.
Rachel
just white
Maddow,
dudes for
yeah.
Kamala,
Brother, yeah. And so they bring him on to talk about how they're going to appeal to the men vote. And again, Aaron McIntyre just killing it. It's like 3 Beverly Hills hairdressers trying to figure out what straight men like and coming to the conclusion that they want musicals about baseball.
Josh,
Guys,
is that what you want? Is that what you want, Josh?
It's not happening. No.
So
I don't
then
think
my
that's
question,
gonna play lacrosse.
something that, because now it's okay, we're what, 15 days away from election. Of course, go out and vote early if you can.
I already voted.
But it's okay. It's desperation time. We realize we have these liabilities. We have to reach out to them. But it feels like, at least to me, like you're saying, Trump is Mr. October. There's been all of these very attention grabbing, seemingly organic moments that have appealed to people. And it just seems to me that there's more of an appeal for Christians to Trump, who, similarly isn't necessarily himself Christian. J.D. Vance, of course, Catholic, and I do actually have the clip of how he reacted when someone yelled "Jesus is King" in the audience, and it was pretty awesome. But then, what's the difference to you guys of say 2 Christians, 2 Catholics? Why is there more of an appeal to, like, these Democrats? Seems like they're Googling movies on what are these Catholics? Who are they? And
Conclave.
feel that way with the other side, and why do you feel like that is the case?
Kamala hates us.
Right, but
be it.
specifically, what is appealing about, say, Trump Vance to Catholics, Christians in a way that seems to land better than kind of the Google treatment?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Joe Biden was, maybe like the last major Democrat who's going to at least try to fake it. Fake like he believes in Jesus, fake like he cares about the Christian faith in any kind of meaningful way. He always made sure he got, went to Ash Wednesday so he could get the photo taken of his forehead with the ashes on it. And he's that kind of yuck it up Irishman, and he talked about all that stuff and the rosary and all that kind of thing. He talked the language. And so he was able to fool enough Catholic voters, unfortunately, to vote for him. And actually, I may be the only person who thinks this. I still think, I thought the party wasn't going to shove him aside. And I still think it's a mistake that they did. I mean, everyone's like, oh, well, obviously she's got a better shot of winning than Joe did. Not really. Because the fact of the matter is, you look at the map, and to get the 270 electoral votes, especially with how good Trump is doing in the Sunbelt states of North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, and now that, because the Hispanic vote's looming so large, Nevada is a pure swing state. So then how do you get to 270 if you're a Democrat? It's got to be through the blue wall. You got to do well in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And the Catholic vote looms large. Now, maybe Joe Biden would not have been able to convince Catholics a second time and fool them again, hopefully. But they didn't even try. They're going with Kamala Harris. She is, everything about her is a condescending, West Coast elite snob from San Francisco, a total San Francisco liberal. And she just doesn't understand how middle Americans act and think. So she's completely out of her element. And now she's got to go to the wilderness in this weird area of the Midwest and find out who are these Catholics and why do they, it's just, it's kind of bizarre. It's like she's on a safari. She has no idea who we are or what we're about.
And to that point, too, I think that we're seeing it with those Midwest states. So the same thing we see with this tone deafness with Christians and Catholics, tone deafness with straight white males. And then the Midwest, what did they do? They're like, we need to find someone who will appeal to the Midwest. I know, Tim Walz. It'll be great. That guy is everything that a Midwesterner should be.
He's a football coach.
Yeah.
Right.
He's a man's man.
He hunts things. And so, yeah, Josh is doing the dance.
Oh.
He's a total limp.
Erica, can I So
Dude.
I've been meaning to bring this up to you really quick.
Okay.
Have you seen the meme of the German? I think it's the German guy throwing up 3 fingers. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. No, I have no idea.
It's from a movie, and I believe it is the moment where they realize he's not actually German.
It's the German 3.
Oh, right. Okay, that's what it is.
Using the thumb.
Got it. So Germans, they say 3 like this.
Yeah, they do it. He was in a bar in like London. And he ordered 3 beers.
Yes.
And then like the English looked at him like, "What are you doing?" Because he used his thumb.
Got it. And
Because,
it's kind of like the moment.
Mercer knew it. I didn't
An
know.
English bloke would have gone like this.
Yes. Okay. So, and they it's the moment where they realize this guy's fake. Like he's trying to pretend to be someone he's not.
Undercover.
He's so good. He mastered everything. Right. Yeah.
And the one thing that I saw on Tim Waltz was so funny. Someone was trying to hype up his appearance back at his old high school. And they're like, Tim Waltz, who used to teach football. And then someone threw up this meme. Like, clearly you do not know. No one teaches football. They coach.
He teaches it for 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It was some like Democrat influence. I think it was like Harry Sison or whatever. And it's like, he taught football there. I was like,
oh my gosh, that was like David Frum.
I think it is Inglourious Bastards was the movie that was from.
Yeah.
Which is, very violent.
See, like,
yeah.
I'm actually very Germanic, so I'm used to doing that. Even though my Mercer's an English name, I do the German 3. But no, David Frum was just freaking out about the McDonald's skit. He's like, "Look, it's not the first time someone's fried anything." They show a picture of Ronald Reagan grilling, and people are like, there's a difference between grilling a hot dog and frying French fry. I mean, they are different things. And it just reminded me of that Chuck Schumer when he threw cheese on the frozen patty. Remember?
Oh, yeah, that was great.
You guys,
Chuck
I mean,
Schumer.
it's like they need to
I'm
go
just
to
like you.
school and like, here's how you tailgate. I mean, like, just imagine it. Imagine Kamala Harris going to like a Pittsburgh Steelers tailgating party. She'd be so out of her element. Trump would be like, yeah, the only thing he wouldn't do is he wouldn't drink a beer because he's like, I don't drink beer. I never have. But he would have had hot dogs. He would have loved it. Dude.
Summary of the episode is like Democrats trying to court Republican voters, and it's the 3 meme. Someone make that, get it to me ASAP. We're putting that up on the LOOPCast Twitter.
I love
ASAP.
Yeah,
Sorry, Eric, I completely destroyed what you're saying with that tangent, but continue.
I have no idea what I was saying anymore.
You're talking about Tim Waltz as like the Midwest
Tim
pick.
Waltz, right. So I think it's just, again, it's the tone deafness and the out of touch. They are just so out of touch with these voter blocks that they have to stop it. Josh is like, that's a funny pun.
No, I'm thinking about like, no, go ahead.
Anyway, I'm just going to give up at this point.
No, it's like that one meme, like, who's that actor? He's got the skateboard. Like, how are you, fellow?
Oh yeah, hello, fellow kids. Yeah.
Hello, fellow kids.
Buscemi.
That's true.
Yeah,
but I think the
Steve
whole
Buscemi,
Kamala campaign can be summed up in "Hello, fellow kids."
Yeah.
It is a meme. What are we talking about?
I mean, she does. She's like, I can't believe I'm, like in the Atlantic and or was it the New York Times? Like, how is it even close? How is she not just destroying this guy? It's like it reminds me of the one college professor who, after the 1984 election, was stunned that Ronald Reagan won. She's like, everyone I know voted for Mondale. Yeah, everyone in Manhattan did. Wow.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Like, go touch grass. Like, actually meet real humans.
So something on this effect I actually wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, and it's specific to the men problem. And this went pretty viral on Twitter, 13 million views from this guy, Travis Helwig. If Kamala loses, which is very possible, there needs to be a real discussion about how Democrats speak to and reach young men. There are very few straight men under 40 in the Democratic consultant class. So when ads try to reach young men, they come off as deeply inauthentic. We take for granted that young people will always be left, but if young male vote ends up being close to what the polls are saying, it will be years of electoral disaster for Democrats. These votes are reachable, but we struggle to talk about them in a way that isn't annoying. To be clear, I'm not saying we need to worry about women less or change any positions. I'm saying the polling around young men is concerning, and if it turns out to be true, we need to have a discussion about how condescending we are coming off to a huge part of the electorate. I'm going to regret posting this hard, was his final point. And boy, do I have to report, the response to this might be why Democrats are going to be unable to reach young, white, straight men. Just a shocking response. I mean, I'm going to go through some of these here. And shout out Nate Hockman, he put this up, but just a compilation of all the quotes to this tweet I thought were quite telling. So we get a man suggesting coddling young straight white men. What is the vice president saying that's condescending to young men? Please be specific. Poor straight men, the responsibility for their actions or inactions always lies elsewhere. oh, won't someone think of the straight men? I mean, it is just hundreds and
Wow.
hundreds of angry messages.
Yeah,
I
you
was
can't
like,
even read them because they're
oh,
so
I know
vile.
some of them so bad. And yeah, I mean, I think to the crux of this to me is if your entire coalition is built on hating like the worst of the worst people in society are young, straight, white men, it is going to be impossible to reach them. I don't think there's enough humility that this tweet about losing young men was very honest and humble. I don't see enough of that from the rest of the party to even reach across.
And what's
Yeah.
I think so amazing about this, by the way, is that for several generations, I think it would be safe to say that more women were going to church than men. Right? We see this. We know this. This is our experience. However, recent data that's coming in amongst people in their 20s show, in fact, an increase. We're seeing an increase in religious attendance. Oh, this is interesting. What's driving it? Men. Young men are going to church more. It's eye-opening.
Mhm.
Who would have thought it would be the men, not the women? And by the way, I love it. Because if men go to church, the kids will stay in the faith.
That's
If
true.
women only go to church, usually you lose a good half of them. And so, and if men are strong and believe in God, it makes everything a lot easier. And I think, it used to be if you wanted, at the fall of the Roman Empire, if you wanted a good girl, she was Christian, and the guy's like, okay, fine, whatever. And they get dragged along and they eventually kind of succumb to it. Sort of like how, Todd married you and said, okay, fine, I'll go along with this religion thing because
I live
this
in the
girl's
Roman
cute.
Empire in my head. Yes, it's true.
But we might have a situation now where, all the eligible bachelors are men who are like, no, I'm not going to marry somebody. I'm not going to throw my body away. I'm going to marry a virtuous woman, and I want to raise kids, and I want to love my family, and I want to stay true to God. And I think I was talking to somebody about this over this weekend. Like, well, why do you think this is the case? And I have to say, I think it's actually a reaction against the elite culture that wants young boys, young men to just play video games, watch a bunch of porn, smoke dope, live in the parents' basement, and not do much of anything. And there's so much hostility towards men that finally there's been this snapback, and men are like, "This is baloney. Like this, I'm not gonna eat this processed food. I'm gonna do weightlifting. I'm gonna eat red meat, and I'm gonna stay, keep my body pure, and I'm gonna wait for the right virtuous woman." I think we have the beginnings of something. I hope it. Like that's why I keep talking about the Ohio State football team. All these guys wearing the Jesus shirts. Like, this is great. They've reacted because they've seen the evil in society and like how pornography is just so wretched. It's nothing like, it's always bad, but it's so much worse than it was in the 70s or something like that. I mean, it's horrible. So I see the beginnings of a possible revival. I love it.
Yeah, and I hope that, the pendulum swings, right? And I think that we're going to see it. We're seeing it among young men already. Actually, Ross Douthat has a great column over in the New York Times from this past week. His most recent op-ed is about like the swinging back from the whole new atheism thing. I am still concerned about the widening political gap between millennial Gen Z men and millennial Gen Z women. I'm not sure. I hope that the women also start to come back because, yeah, I agree. No, I agree that it's better in a family, an established family, that the man drive the religious commitment of the family. That leadership role is absolutely essential to the children growing up in the faith and sticking to the faith. We know that statistically. At the same time, if you have a bunch of young, unattached young men who can't find a faithful woman because they're all pro-choice and Democrat and off in the sexual revolution still and suffering from those wounds, I think you're going to end up with it's going to be bad for society, and we're already seeing that, right? So yeah, I cautiously am optimistic. I just think it's a much longer. I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime for
Maybe,
both
but
sexes to swing back.
it's not again, with Peachy Keenan, it was the case where, she was pretty liberal, right? Wasn't it her husband that was a little bit more on the right path? And
Sure, I think there's personal
So-
anecdotes to that effect, but I don't think the broader data bears that out yet. I think it's still a pretty dangerous time. Yeah.
I'd also like to give a credit to, like you said, men are coming back to church statistically.
Yeah.
A lot of women have stayed there. And so I want to give broad credit to women for being the heart of the church, and no doubt.
No
And
question.
the prayers of good, faithful women in churches have saved many souls. I have no doubt. So I'd like to give
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But as the
Paramus
resident,
for the win, for sure.
as the resident, 26-year-old on the podcast of, why Democrats and secular messages are very unappealing to me is, I would say, for the most part, like myself and then a lot of my friends, we just kind of want to be left alone for the most part. And I think it would have been one thing if Democrats would have just abandoned, quote unquote, us and maybe focused other messages. I think it's harder to reconcile when the messages are so intentionally antagonistic. So the
hostile.
entire
Yeah.
philosophy and worldview is that the most evil person in society right now is a straight white Christian man. All the other LGBTQ explosion, you look at the rates there, it's skyrocketing. The oppression Olympics there. You want to talk about race baiting over the past couple of years, tearing down statues, changing holidays, white people basically being discriminated against in college application processes and in jobs and things like that. I mean, it's all provable at this point. Even if people would argue over that, the messaging for sure has been white people are evil. If you go look at what's happening in universities now, what's being taught, what's being told, the implicit messaging and all of that is, of course, that, we're Satan, basically. We have to be the worst of the worst. So again, if we were abandoned, it would have been fine. I think it's tough seeing, the gay guy sitting on the tailgate saying vote for Kamala after being antagonized for, I don't know, 10 plus years at this point.
Yeah, I think that like what you're expressing is the competing, it's just such an icon of the competing worldviews at stake in this election, right? So on the one hand, we have the Democrats who have totally embraced the Marxist oppressor versus oppressed rhetoric, where the oppressor must be destroyed. And who's the oppressor? Well, that would be the white
DJT.
straight young males, right?
Donald
Yep,
Trump.
they have to be destroyed. And he's definitely the oppressor in their mind. And then on the other hand, so it's just this complete dialectic, right? Like if you vote for Harris, you are voting for a society in which we have the victims who are going to get to dictate everything and who will destroy the bourgeoisie, the oppressors, whoever they are, fill in the blank. Then, on the other hand, you have the option of someone who, for all his faults, is at least trying to build a coalition and bring people to the table instead of saying, here's the table and here's who's allowed. Look at the list of people who have endorsed him. We've got like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard. Josh, did you see Nikki Haley wants to join the Trump train? That came out this
did see
weekend.
that.
I thought of you. I don't know if you want to react to that.
She needs some
But-
podcast views.
to the point where the diversity of opinion is now in the GOP candidates' campaign, which is a kind of turnaround for some people to contemplate. But again, that's what we're choosing between.
Not that diverse for Josh. We draw the line.
There is a
with
line, and we will not cross it, says Josh. Nikki.
The Warhawks
Every
can
vote
stand the
counts,
other.
Josh. Every vote
But
counts.
you're
Warhawks.
right, though. You're right, though, Pogo, though. I mean, the message from the left over the last 10, 15 years is to white men who are Christian and straight. We hate you. We hate you. We hate you. We hate you. Oh, and why aren't you voting for our candidate?
Right. Yeah, what?
We need to medicate you. That's
But
been
hey,
the message.
let's bring it up. I'll tell you.
Yes, actually, that's very true.
Oh, quite
Yeah,
literally.
we try to-
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one profession, school teachers, where there's not enough men, and they're all women, and they all think that boys acting up a little antsy because it's not natural to sit in the classroom
No.
for 7 hours a day,
it is
especially for
not.
a boy, and they do less recess, less exercise, and these boys are and like, oh, we got to medicate them.
Oh, that's not the medication I thought you were talking about. I thought changing their gender also was a part of that.
No,
I mean,
I know,
and
but
you think about,
general.
all right, so in my life too, straight white Christian young man, I love my country, I love my wife, I love God, and then I love my kids. And I'm just looking at the comparison here. The things that are being promised to do to my children potentially are completely abhorrent. the things that are being done to my faith, people who also share my faith, are abhorrent. And then the things that are being done to my country too. I think it's underestimated. Like, most people are pretty patriotic in my like demo. And I think about what's the messaging that I'm hearing is that we're evil. We need to turn the page. All our history is bad. You're a colonizer, yada, yada, yada. And of course there's nuance within there, but none of that's heard. And then the other side is what's the opposite? We're going to make America great again. You're a great country. We're a great people. We can do a lot. Like, just at a simple breakdown, that's what it means to me. But then this message appeals to me. So here's JD Vance's, we're going to go full circle, response to the Jesus is Lord thing.
Anti-Christian rhetoric and anti-Christian approach to public policy. I don't think that we've, that's right, Jesus is king. And I don't think that we've seen... I don't think that we've seen anything like this in modern American politics. Yeah,
that works for me.
Preach. I'll go with that guy. I like
Booyah. Okay, next section. So we have a few options we can go to. Let's bring it up again. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is going to be our little palate cleanser. We have any Hillbilly Thomist fans in the audience here? I knew Erica was a fan. They were on stage with Zac Brown, Providence College. Check it out. Come on now. The palate is cleansed. Look at the boy. Come on now.
Oh.
Isn't that what the kids say? That slaps?
That slaps.
That did slap.
That'd be
For
lit.
sure. I think it was at Providence's. They do like a midnight rally for basketball or something like that. And so
Yeah, that was the
Zac
Zac
Brown
Brown band, wasn't it?
And they said, "Hey, come on up." Yeah, Zac Brown had the Hillbilly Thomists up there.
I like that band. They're good.
Hey, you should buy all their CDs if you don't have them yet, or if you don't buy CDs, get them on Spotify.
Yeah, how big of a fan are you, Erica?
I'm a huge fan. Like, my kids and I listen to this in the car all the time.
That's what's
They're
up.
funny too. They have a lot of original songs that they wrote themselves, and as Dominicans have a very impressive vocabulary and knowledge of biblical allusions to make in their songs, and they're great.
It's like bluegrass, right?
Bluegrass with guys dressed in medieval habits. It's awesome.
Kinda
And
goes
these
hard.
are like, so one of the guys,
that.
the banjo player, Father Thomas Joseph White, who is also one of the preeminent Aquinas scholars in the world today. He has written fantastic books, teaches in Rome, and then he's also this like amazing banjo player who writes original music with his guys. So
You know who are two other people that are fantastic banjo players you may not suspect?
my dad.
Actor Steve Martin.
I thought you were going to
no, I
say
know
that
Steve
you
Martin.
played. I swear I thought you were going to say that you
not
played
happening.
banjo. I was going to lose it. I was going to lose it.
I couldn't carry a tune if it was stapled to my hip.
That would have been the best moment of this entire podcast if you just pulled out a
Pulled out a
banjo,
banjo?
and started ripping. But okay, continue. Sorry.
And
No,
then-
Steve Martin is awesome.
Princeton
watching him.
professor Robert George, pro-life guy. He's
Ah.
a huge banjo player. He's good too. From what I
Banjo
can
is
tell.
sick. It looks
I want my
really
son to
hard.
Learn banjo. That would be great.
Yeah. Oh,
It'd
they're
be
probably
fun
not
to
great.
Robbie George to invite the Hillbilly Thomists to Princeton.
To
You can
Princeton.
jump,
Oh, great.
go on stage with those guys. You know.
The boys. Shout out to Hillbilly Thomists. Okay, so I got a question for you guys. And I think it's a little time sensitive, and I want to preface this with we're going to send some follow-up information hopefully to this, but I wanted to get your thoughts maybe if other people are in a similar situation. Question. I have been listening to the podcast since the presidential debate. The podcast has helped me to understand politics more, especially from a Catholic standpoint, so thank you for your work. Appreciate it. I work in campus ministry in the theology department at an all-girls Catholic high school. Despite being a Catholic institution, we have a majority of students and faculty that are not practicing / many left-leaning Catholics. I consider myself among a few others to be more traditional practicing Catholics that work there. On Wednesday, we will gather as a faculty to discuss expectations surrounding conversations with students during this election season. We will brainstorm about possible questions that students may ask, as well as appropriate ways to respond. As someone that is not well-versed in politics but can understand your podcast well, I would love your advice going into this conversation.
So they want to
That's a
know how to
tough
talk
situation.
about the. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just introduce to the students, each of the different candidates, and where they stand on the issues. You know, you can bring it up in a way that doesn't beat them over the head. You know, I still feel like when it comes to the arts of persuasion, it's better for us to propose rather than impose. And so you just try to illustrate, almost like in a Socratic method, like, okay, now let's look. Where do these candidates stand? What do they think about abortion? What does the church think of it first? And then what does each of these two candidates think of it? What do they think about marriage? You know, and then start talking through what each of them think. What does the church believe about liberty? You know, religious freedom. Where do each of these candidates stand? How do each of the candidates how do they think about the role of religion in society? Do they consider it to be a positive force or not? And then just, you know, basically ask these kids a lot of questions. And it's not like you're yelling at a vote for Trump or something like that, but you're just helping them to think. I mean, again, I always feel like we can win a fair we'll always win a fair fight. I just want to get the fight as fair as we can. You know, when it comes to the media, whether it comes to academia, just to be able to express what it is, because I feel our positions are the ones that are natural. They comport with human nature and human reason. So,
Right. And I think that going into the faculty meeting, so I agree like 100% with students, it should be Socratic method all the way. It should be listening to their responses carefully and asking good follow-up questions and getting them to think about the fundamental questions of, like he said, religion and politics. Going into a faculty meeting could be a little trickier, but I also think that you can echo the same sort of approach that Josh just outlined and just say, look, we want students to, what are our goals for our students? It's not, you know, we want them to vote a certain way, although, you know, I would, but you could present it as we want them to be politically engaged and well informed. How are we going to do that? And so talking about the obligation of Catholics to vote, again, you don't have to say like to vote a certain way, but you say we should at least inform them of what does the catechism say about our obligation to vote and why, what and where to go to find out the church teaching. There are voter guides out there that even leftist leaning Catholics probably can't object to too much. The USCCB had some old ones as well. I think we have a Human Life International Pro-Life Guide, although they'll probably reject that if you're at the school I'm thinking of, a school like the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
But I do think going into the faculty meeting and saying, let's outline 2 goals to encourage engagement and to encourage informing yourself on
right. And it's like
social justice teaching. Who can object to that?
Well, and it's like you're not like we want these kids to be critical thinkers because they're going to be lifelong voters. They're going to have to, they're going to have to discern what, you know, what it means to be to look at the different candidates and what they claim to support and what they actually, you know, believe and what they do. And yeah, you want to make sure the kids are critical thinkers. Teach right from the catechism.
Right.
It's all there.
Stick to that because they're not voting yet, so it's not as
Yeah.
you know.
That's interesting too. Yeah, I didn't even
more
think
sense.
about that because I was thinking about it at a college level.
Yeah.
I never
little
had
different.
I never had a professor, and I probably wouldn't have even wanted to have a professor tell me how to vote or who I should vote for. Probably wouldn't have been received well anyway. And to Josh's point, that's where you get into a little bit more of the Socratic method. You're trying to offer just information and then go through questions and then try to see how it applies. I think the biggest thing here is just stay as airtight as possible. Like, especially if people, because I could see this, of course, it's all hypothetical, but I could see this going, oh, well, here's this great resource that maybe we should consult this great resource. And it's probably from like the Southern Poverty Law Center or somewhere that's going to be very, very left leaning. Of course, taint maybe. So if they're sending people with bad resources, I'd have a problem with that to begin with. And you're at a liberal institution. So I'd say just try to keep it as airtight as possible. And then I'd recommend things like the Catechism of the Catholic Church. It's really hard to argue. You're a theology professor. No one's going to be able to, like, good luck firing someone for referencing the Catechism of the Catholic Church. And I'm sure you're concerned too about your job and everything like that, which is tough. One, these kids can't vote. And then number two, I would just offer the Catechism of the Catholic Church are really airtight Catholic resources for how to apply to the biggest questions facing people in this election season. And because I think your biggest challenge is not going to be with the students, is my instinct. It's going to
Exactly.
be with administrators, other teachers, and that's
100%.
just never an easy
And parents, right?
challenge. So, yeah, good luck to you. If anyone else has
Yeah.
suggestions on how to handle this or has handled something similar, email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org. I'd love to connect you with as much good information as possible. It's going to be an interesting situation. Okay, so I'm going through our sheet here. I'm going to say Twilight Zone.
Woo!
Let's do it.
Twilight Zone. Josh, you're up first.
I got a little 80s nostalgia for people. So first
Nice.
of all, let's show up this picture of John Bon Jovi on late night. You got this link here for me?
Oh gosh, Josh,
I
come
appreciate
on, bro.
this. I don't know what show he was on, but someone said John Bon Jovi is looking like the fifth Golden Girl. Now I can't unsee it.
That's what
He
you
does
got.
What
kind
is
of.
going on? It's so funny to me that all these aging rockers, they look like old lesbians now. It's,
Oh, have you seen Bruce? Bruce does not look good, man.
Yeah, Bruce
does not
Springsteen.
look good at all.
Bruce
dude.
looks like he
Yeah.
drives a Subaru Outback 2019,
Yeah,
probably.
Well, let me pivot off this 80s thing. And there's a really interesting thread by a good guy. His name is Daniel McCarthy. He writes a lot for American Conservative. And he talked about the TV show Family Ties, which came out long before Pogo was ever alive. But it was a great concept for a TV show. You've got these aging hippie parents who are raising, Michael J. Fox's character, Alex P. Keaton, and he's a young Reaganite. And there's this clash between the, peace, love, hippie type parents and Alex P. Keaton, the super loving capitalism, candidate kid. And it was a fun show and everyone loved it. And actually what ended up happening is that everyone loved the conservative character. Like that always happens when they put in these shows.
Always.
All in the Family or
Ron
30
Swanson.
Rock. Yeah. Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson. But Daniel McCarthy put a really good thread, and I just want to kind of share what he was getting at about Family Ties. Like I said, it's about this young kid raised by hippie parents. Boomer nostalgia was already big in the 80s, and the show tried to play off these idealistic hippie boomers, help them along as they try to imagine what it's like to reconcile the Reaganite present of capitalism with their, what they hope was going to be this new age of Aquarius, right? Where everything's peace, love, and dope. But the point that Dan McCarthy is trying to make here is that conservative viewers at the time hoped that, that the young Alex P. Keaton character, like, hey, this is going to be great. The future's ours. Capitalism is great. It's going to take me a minute to get here on this. I know it's kind of a long one, but the whole point
That's all
here
right.
is like what happened is a lot of conservatives in the 1980s were kind of hoping that capitalism would help bring about prosperity and we could try to get back to sort of like the old family life that we had in the 50s and the 60s before the hippies took over, right?
Right.
And that's what they're hoping, that we could just kind of put the toothpaste back in the bottle, right? And so the whole point is that a lot of conservatives think of themselves as like the Alex P. Keaton, like we're going to destroy the liberals. Like, Walter Mondale ran for president. He got crushed. Reagan won 49 states, and young, capitalism was on the ascendancy. The Berlin Wall comes down. Everything was so great, and we're loving it. But the fact of the matter is, what happened in the 90s is that liberals did not, they took a hard left turn. Bill Clinton talked a moderate game, but they ushered in, through all the institutions, a very hard left progressive future. And they dominate now all the, like all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, wait a minute, every corporation in America is hard left. It's kind of
Right.
like it's shocking. And you're watching, Family Ties in the 80s and watching this guy, Wall Street and worshiping Reagan and capitalism. And you have no idea that 20, 30 years from now, which is now, right, that the left would dominate the corporate boardrooms. And so there's a lot of people that are in their 50s and 60s and 70s who still think of themselves in like a Reagan mode. Like, if we just have that sunny optimism, if we can we'll turn the corner and everything will go back to normal. And I say, we live in a country it's not an Etch-a-Sketch. You just can't shake it and go back to where it was. We have to rebuild from the ground up. And that's why actually younger conservatives, I'm not even that young, but everyone my age and younger, Gen X and younger, they're starting to realize the Reagan model isn't working today. And actually, you need a combative leader, more in the Nixon mold. And that's why Trump is resonating now, because Trump is fighting. Because we had a long list of leaders in the Republican Party who just thought, oh, shucks, we just disagree and things will get back to normal. And it's like, no, it's not. The progressive left is coming for us. They would love to step on our throats and extinguish us. It's an extinction-like event that we're facing, and we need to fight. So anyway, I'm not doing his whole thread here justice, but I'll share it. I just think it's really, we got to move away from this kind of simplified language of the Reagan era and realize we're in the fight for our lives. It's an existential threat.
That reminds me, I listened to Jordan Peterson interviewed Robbie Starbuck over the weekend. That dropped
He's just
over
doing amazing work.
Robbie Starbuck, who took down, Tractor Supply, John Deere, and didn't just take them down, but actually turned them around,
Right.
like forcing them to get rid of some of these woke policies and practices and gay pride and forced DEI training. But I think Robbie Starbuck, I encourage everyone to go listen to that. I have a hard time listening to Jordan Peterson interviews sometimes because he talks too much, but this one, he really sat back and just listened to Robbie, and he's explaining exactly what you're explaining, Josh, that we have to have fight and a take back mentality, that this realize where we are right now and actually start doing things to win battles. And I think another example right now is, of course, Chris Rufo with his work over at Manhattan
Absolutely.
Institute. But they're good examples of exactly what you're talking about. So yeah, I totally.
And
plug
Rufo's
that
actually
interview.
got a little, I don't know if it was a book or a long essay on Nixon and why he's actually, his
Yeah.
way of thinking is the time
Dude,
now.
people have
Now,
been
but,
Nixon
like,
pilled. You can't go back.
The thing is, you mentioned Robbie Starbuck. He ran for Congress and he lost. And actually, I thank the good Lord that he lost, because he would have just been one of another 435 members of Congress. He loses. And what does he decide to do? He decides, as you're right, to take on all these corporations. I think
As a
Lowe's
journalist.
is just the latest. And he got Toyota to turn on a dime. I mean, this guy is amazing. Praise.
Yeah. Well, he was the original to expose the child gender mutilation surgeries at Vanderbilt down in Tennessee. And that was actually his first big win before he turned on the woke policies, DEI stuff. So shout out to Robbie Starbuck. Can you please cut your hair though, Robbie? The man bun is just not doing it for me.
No, man, it's like Samson. Don't
Facts.
cut the hair. He's working. Whatever's
Look,
working.
Many are saying it's time to cut the hair. Just saying. It's time.
Maybe
thank
if
you,
Trump
Josh.
wins, he'll cut his hair.
Erica.
Okay.
Which
All
was it?
right. This is a fun one. I got a little Elon Musk going on here, and I love Elon's campaigning for Trump in Pennsylvania. There's a big kerfuffle because he offered $1 million a day to a randomly selected PA resident.
Don't worry.
who
I'll get
saw
into that.
suspicion. Oh, okay. We got that coming. Then I will not blow your bubble. But he also gave this great campaign rally kind of speech, and it ended up being a stand-up comedy routine about government regulation. So I don't know if we can play this first one here. Not the whole thing. I'll tell you when to stop.
All right, from the beginning.
Yeah, he's talking about.
And that's
Starlink
tip of the
Cloud.
iceberg. I got a bunch of sort of nutty stories, some of them are, I guess, kind of funny. There's, we had to do this, SpaceX had to do the study to see if Starship would hit a shark. And I'm like, it's a big ocean,
It's from government regulations.
There's a lot of sharks. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. And said, well, you have to, this is, I think, from National Marine Fisheries, one of the, NIMF it's called. They were like, well, you have to do the study on whether you're going to hit a shark. We're like, what? And then we said, okay, fine, we'll do the analysis. And then, well, can you give us the shark data? They're like, no, we can't give you the shark data. We're like, okay, well, then we're in a bit of a quandary.
Yeah, we are in a bit of a quandary.
So this is typical government bureaucracy, right? They're like, you have to do an analysis of all the shark data. He's like, okay, great. Give me the data. I'll do it. They're like, no, we can't do that. We can't give you the data. And so he's just like, well, how am I supposed to analyze it? They're like, you got to do it yourself. So he ends up having to like go around to other companies to get the data. So the story goes on though. After they get the shark data and they analyze, okay, the likelihood is less than 1% that the falling rocket from space will hit a shark. They're like, okay, great, it's safe for sharks. And he's like, great, can we fire our rockets now in California? They're like, no. He's like, why not? He's like, well, now you have to do it for whales. And so the whole thing happens again. He's like, can I have the whale data? No, you can't. You need to find it yourself. And
well,
so
we
he
stepped
does
on the
whole whale
punchline,
data.
Erica. The punchline of the whole shark data thing was, well, okay, we're in a bit of a quandary. You're not going to give me the data. How do we solve it? They're like, well, we could give it to our Western division, but we don't trust them.
I know.
What
are you talking about?
This
So
is kind of
last
like
week-
a Office Space situation, right? Of like,
Yeah.
what exactly do you do here?
what are we supposed to do? But my favorite story that came out of Starlink in California, trying to do his rockets there. I mean, last week we know that one of the government agencies was like, well, we're not going to give you the permit to fire a rocket in California because we don't like your political speech on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the
Perfect.
final thing because none of this other environment. So my favorite one was in the same stand-up, he talked about the SEALs. And before he could fire a rocket in California, the Environmental Protection Agency there for the state was concerned that the sonic boom from the rockets would decrease seal libido and hence cause decrease in seal population. So Elon Musk goes to them and he says, well, I actually have correlative studies here that although there have been multiple space rockets fired from California in the last decade, as that instance has risen, actually the seal population has gone up. So it seems that rockets exploding actually increases the excitement seals have about procreating and reproducing.
Interesting.
But no, they
Rocket
made Elon Musk, they made Starlink or whatever. Sorry, they made him go and capture a baby seal, strap it to some boards. He had to design his own seal headphones.
The pic is crazy.
Yeah, they have the seal. There it is.
Look at this.
See the poor
Oh,
little
for the
seal.
love of-
They put the seal headphones on the seal, and they play sonic booms to the seal while it's. So this is what the government is there for, guys. They are there to protect us from sad seals who can't reproduce.
Look, do I have to say it?
sonic
I feel like, is it bad to me that I think the government cares more about seal libido than human libido?
You know,
Funny you mention
it's
that
a
because
little
Elon Musk was
concerning.
asked about that. Not that exact thing, but did you see that he was asked about having kids? It was
At
great,
the
actually.
Pennsylvania rally?
I think so. Yeah. Did you see this video?
No.
Here,
Not
I'll send you
sure.
the
But
link.
wait, there's more.
Oh, okay. I thought there was more to
Oh,
yours, Eric. I
I
was
thought
like,
she
whoa.
was-
No, I mean I can keep going, but you go ahead. I want to hear about having children.
Interesting. Okay. You want me to play the video?
Yeah, it's only
version?
29 seconds.
Sweet. We got time.
Key advice would you give to the younger generation wanting to start a family?
I mean, my advice regarding starting a family is start immediately. Yeah,
Yes.
you know.
The guy's like, yeah.
I think people worry too much about having kids, and sometimes it's difficult to make ends meet and whatnot. But honestly, there's really no time like the present. Just have kids, you won't be sorry.
Now,
Amen.
I wouldn't recommend doing it in the way that Elon has done it. Do I have to be the guy to
no.
come out and say this? I probably wouldn't just do
I
it with a
think
bunch of
one
women.
baby mama
Yeah,
would
obviously.
be just right. Preferably your wife.
Would be chill.
Just one.
Just one.
Better
But
for the kids, better for you.
facts. Better for everyone involved.
Better for
So mine, not to make this the Elon, because I also do want to talk a little Daniel Penny too.
Ooh, yeah.
We'll do Elon then Daniel Penny. Okay. So Elon has started a sweepstakes in Pennsylvania. So to give a little summary of what he's got going on is he's giving away $1 million every day until election day to a Pennsylvanian who signs Elon Musk's America PAC petition. The PAC petition is for all registered voters in Pennsylvania, and each will receive $47 for signing. He claims the $1 million awards are to raise awareness about the petition. Now, what is the petition? It's basically protecting free speech, protecting the Second Amendment. It's a play to get people excited about voting in Pennsylvania. Clearly, Elon has gone all in, beyond all measure. Talk about giving $1 million away every day. I mean, this is the definition of all in. He's going and doing speeches solo without Trump that he's selling out, which is crazy. And back to, my initial reaction to this too is funny on what Josh was saying. I'm really, if you can't tell, tired of principled losers in the Republican Party. And Guess what? People are mad about this. Lefties are saying that it's illegal, that he's buying votes, yada, yada, yada.
Have all the people to say it.
Facts.
know, right?
Well, this is kind of my point. I'm like, how many times would you just see Republicans like they come up with an idea and then some liberal judge somewhere is like, no, illegal. And they're like, oh, sorry about that. We're going to go back to our little corner and hang out in a log cabin and lose. And I'm like, I'm kind of glad that we're getting scrappy here, like let's get after it. Argument 4 is people are claiming
Republic, if you can keep it, let's go. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And I think partially the argument is you can't pay people to get them to register to vote. And he's not doing that. He's paying people to get them to sign a petition. However, the only people eligible to do so for the sweepstakes are registered voters. So he's somewhat getting around what's going on. I mean, I think if anything, it's just showing like this cult of personality around Elon Musk is insane. I mean, I'm trying to imagine do you think Jeff Bezos is going around hosting rallies for people to get the same response? I mean, he clearly has something that's compelling. I think a lot of people kind of see him as like our generation's Tony Stark or something like that. But anyway, it kind of reminded me of Vivek Ramaswamy's fundraising strategy. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back when he was doing his presidential campaign, he actually was offering a 10% commission for people to fundraise for him. Mm-hmm. Essentially, the argument being he's democratizing the fundraising function of most people's campaigns. Doesn't really matter who brings the money in. It doesn't have to be through a high-paid consultant. It could be your neighbor. It doesn't matter. They could get money. Because what's funny is the same people that will argue and get mad about an Elon thing or a Vivek thing are the same people whining about how the campaign system is broken and finance system is broken. So I'm all for new solutions at this point. I mean, I think it is pretty clearly broken. There's too much lobbying. So that's what's going on there. And then I'm going to leave you guys with this because I know for a fact it's going to come up later. We're going to be covering this. But the Daniel Penny trial started. And for those who are unfamiliar, Daniel Penny was a 24-year-old man on a subway. Yeah. Many would call it hero. I would too. Who put a homeless person named Jordan Neely, who was acting very erratically in a chokehold
towards other passengers.
Right, to save these other passengers from harm's way. And this man unfortunately died afterwards, and the autopsy showed that they're saying that it was compression of the neck. And so he's potentially seeing up to 10, 15 years in jail.
It's 20 years.
For the sale. 20 years in jail. I think it's,
Max.
They're arguing that it's second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. This happened in May 2023, if you guys remember, and this is also, Penny's a discharged Marine. So he was trained in this kind of thing. And so today begins the process of electing a jury. I've seen that they're going to ask the jury, put yourself in the shoes of people on this subway. Of course, if you remember, media picked this up because Daniel Penny was a white man. Jordan Neely was a black man. Of course, you look into it a little deeper. Very long history of criminal behavior, violent behavior. Unfortunately, it seemed like he was very kind of mentally disturbed, either some type of mental health going on, unfortunately. I think the fact that this is even being blown up into the thing that it is a total Twilight Zone. I fully believe that in any sane country, we would be rewarding men like this who are protecting other people, not putting them on trial and potentially up to 20 years in jail. So I just want to put that on everyone's radar.
Yeah, instead of putting them on trial, maybe we should elect a mayor.
Right. I know.
Might be a good solution for Manhattan.
Yeah, it's like, don't you think?
Eric Adams will be leaving soon, so they'll need someone new.
Just saying.
But then, of course, the
Brought to you
FBI
by
stealth
Pure
edits. The FBI stealth edited all the crime statistics, right? So they were saying that was actually down 2%, and then they stealth edit the last hour, saying now it's actually up 4.5%. Anyone that has been to New York understands the subway situation. I mean, let alone all the illegal immigration. If a society continues to punish men who act to protect the common good, we're going to get more and more dangerous. It's a very simple equation. So I hope this guy's a great lawyer, and I hope true justice is served here. He does not belong in jail. He doesn't belong on trial right now. So pray for Daniel Penny and pray for the repose of the soul of Jordan Neely too. It seems like a really tragic situation, but the way it's being handled is an absolute disgrace, in my opinion.
100% agree.
Glad we agree there.
Preach.
Go Lions. So, we'll slide on now. Hey, if you want to help us out, and hey, I really appreciate this. I asked and it happened. I asked for some more Apple podcast reviews, and we got bumped above 600 now. Saw a couple of really nice ones in there. Appreciate it. If you're listening there, leave us reviews. 5 stars if you please. Spotify, you can as well. If you want to subscribe here on YouTube, subscribe, like, all those things help us out. But the best thing you can do, honestly, is just share us with a friend. If you feel like our analysis is helpful and want to join this kind of community here live on YouTube or listening to the podcast afterwards, just share us to someone. We might be a good resource. And if they'd enjoy it, it's the best way we spread the show. So ask for that. Join the Champions Club. Best way to help us out. Support us monthly. It's the only way we're able to do this. We're so appreciative to all our champions. I've actually got to interact with quite a few over email, and I cannot express to you enough thank you. It's the only way we're able to do our work here at Catholic Vote. And email me, loopcast@catholicvote.org, if you have questions. And pray for us. Always the best thing you can do. St. Thomas More, St. Fidelis, Our Lady of Guadalupe. Pray for us. Have a great Monday, guys. We'll be back for the Wednesday show, Locked and Loaded.